Ladies and gentlemen, I came up with an idea this past week that I wanted to do Friday night after SmackDown, but I figured I would wait until tonight and use this video not only as kind of a new concept to my channel, but also to promote TWitWoW, because this is Monday Night Raw, and TWitWoW is back. We will be on iTunes by probably 1 o'clock, if no later than 1:30 Tuesday morning. So if you're a night owl, stay up and listen to it. If you're a morning person, wake up early and download it and listen to it, because TWitWoW is still alive. We are still going strong. We are now making 2 episodes a week, every Monday and Friday. But that's not necessarily what this video is about. This video is kind of a throwback for my channel, because when I first started, every Friday I would have a Fave Five Friday. And while I have stopped doing that, I haven't stopped kind of keeping track of different guys in the companies that I enjoy watching the most. So this isn't a Fave 5 Friday, but this is my personal 5 Fave 5s. And the reason I call it the 5 Fave 5s is because there are kind of 5 categories that I pay attention to, that I have favorite wrestlers from. The first category is the WWE. Second one is TNA, or Impact Wrestling. The third one is Ring of Honor. The fourth one, and the only reason I have the fourth one separate from WWE is because they aren't on WWE TV yet. Fourth one being FCW. I am a huge fan of Florida Championship Wrestling. I've said in the past that sometimes FCW entertains me more than WWE. And my fifth category is pretty much just anything that doesn't fit into the first 4 categories, and we'll just call that the independent category, the indies, if you will. To start things off, I'm going to kind of work my way from the bottom up. My fifth Fave 5 being the indies. My Fave 5, as far as people that are not in WWE, TNA, ROH, or FCW, number 5 is Pac. And now, I don't know if everyone's heard of a lot of these guys, probably, but this guy is, and the reason I know about him in the first place is because of the Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana, another podcast that I guess I can plug on here. I love that podcast. The most recent episode, episode 100, was CM Punk interviewing Colt Cabana, so it was kind of like a role change. But regardless of that, I really enjoy watching Pac work. I even kind of somewhat enjoyed Jungle Pac. I think that was interesting and creative and just plain different, and I'd love to see this guy. If the WWE decides to go through with a cruiserweight division, this guy could be the frickin' mainstay of the division. He could be today what Rey Mysterio was for WCW's cruiserweight division 15, 20 years ago. This guy is incredibly talented, and he can do some things as far as aerial moves go that the only guys that I know of that have that kind of ability are Jack Evans and Ricochet, and this guy he has better psychology than both of those other guys. Number 4 on my independent Fave 5 is Boom Boom Colt Cabana. I love this guy, and I love Colt Cabana for more than one reason. I love his in-ring work. He is hilarious. I love his comedy wrestling style, but at the same time, while he is technically a comedy wrestler, he's still somebody that you have to take seriously because he is relatively imposing physically. But more so than that, I absolutely love the Art of Wrestling podcast with Colt Cabana. He's introduced me to so many different wrestlers, including my number 5 on this list, as I was saying, Pac. And on top of that, he's kind of allowed me and anyone really that listens to the podcast regularly to better get to know some of the wrestlers that we already know and love, like CM Punk, like Chris Hero, like Claudio, like Zack Ryder, Mick Foley, Daniel Bryan. They've all been on his show, and every episode has been great. I think my personal favorite episode was the Daniel Bryan episode. Dolph Ziggler's episode was also great. I just love Colt Cabana's attitude. He's another positive guy, and you all know that I love to try and stay positive with wrestling. And on top of that, he's just funny. He's just plain funny. He's an entertaining person. Number 3 on my independent Fave 5 is El Generico, and I hate that I have to put him in my independent section, but from what I understand, his contract with ROH ran out, and they never renewed it. And I think that's unfortunate because, honestly, I was hoping he would win back the television title within a few months. He's one of the most entertaining guys when ROH had him, and now he's one of the most entertaining guys on the independent circuit. He's another guy that I think that if the WWE would start up a cruiserweight division, he would need to be one of the names on the list of the people that they would need to call to bring in for that division. Number 2, oh man. Number 2 on my independent Fave 5, Sexy Chucky T, Chuck Taylor. For those of you that have never heard of Chuck Taylor, you have no idea what you're missing. Do yourself a service and look him up on YouTube. There are tons of videos of this guy. He is hilarious. And he's not really somebody that I could see, being like a main event guy or even like a main event as far as the cruiserweight division goes in the WWE. But he is just a riot. He freaking scares kids in the audience to pick up heat. He's hilarious on the mic. He has a lot of fun stories. He's just an awesome, entertaining guy. Love Chuck Taylor. Not really a whole lot more to say about this guy. He's just hilarious. Like I said, if you have never heard of Chuck Taylor, or if you've heard of him but you've never really kind of looked into him, do yourself a favor. Just type Chuck Taylor into Google or YouTube and search for some videos on this guy because he is hilarious. Number 1 on my independent Fave 5 is none other than the guy that got turned away by TNA last month on Gut Check, Joey Ryan. And I will be the first person to admit that I am a Joey Ryan bandwagoner because this guy had a match against Austin Aries, and I immediately realized that he's amazing at what he does. Admittedly, I didn't know a whole lot about him before he showed up in TNA, but it's one of those things where once you see somebody as a talent and somebody that you're interested in, you look them up, you go a little bit further into it, and this guy can do no wrong. Joey Ryan is an amazing wrestler, amazing worker, amazing on the mic, great at pretty much everything wrestling related. And there is nobody on the independent wrestling circuit right now that I would rather see succeed in the wrestling business than Joey Ryan. My number 4 Fave 5 would be the FCW Fave 5. And I am making this video before Raw on June 25th. So if any of these guys decide that they want to debut on Raw on June 25th, please know that we can just kind of shift things around, put them on the WWE, knock number 5 out, something like that. I don't know. But unless they do, this is my FCW Fave 5. Number 5, Seth Rollins. This kid needs a lot of work with the in-ring psychology, but he's got a ton of charisma, great intensity. He knows how to pop a crowd. He does the high spot, kind of like the flippy stuff, kind of like what a John Morrison offered. Just somebody that I enjoy watching wrestle. He's, it's one of those things where he doesn't have the best psychology, and he came from ROH, so it kind of fits that he doesn't have the best psychology, but he's still fun to watch. Number 4, Corey Graves. Man, I gotta tell you, this guy is incredibly talented. He has probably more charisma, just oozes charisma, probably more charisma than anyone else on the FCW roster. He's got the X factor. He's got that it factor. He's got that thing about him that just makes you like, holy crap, this guy is going to go somewhere. He's got almost like that Jeff Hardy level of mass appeal, like Jeff Hardy in 2008, 2009. He's got that kind of mass appeal, and he's great in the ring. He's got a great look. He's got this, like I said, he just oozes charisma. His psychology is very good, off the charts. Not as good as my top 3, my 3, 2, and 1 FCW Fave 5 guys, but great psychology. I guess that now that I think about it, Seth Rollins is really kind of an outlier here because he doesn't have the psychology and all of the other 4 guys do. But yeah, Corey Graves, formerly known as Sterling James Keenan on the independent circuit. I will talk about all 5 of the guys on this Fave 5 eventually in my FCW Superstar Spotlight series. I've decided that I'm going to record the Dean Ambrose episode on Wednesday. That will be up by Thursday. And then I'm pretty sure that next Sunday or Monday, I'm going to do a State of the WWE address. The last time I did that, it was on a blog post. But whatever day July 1st is, that's the day I'm going to do it because that is literally the halfway point in the year. So I'm going to kind of do like a halfway point, and then at the end of the year, I'm going to do my end of the year awards, and that'll kind of be like an ongoing thing. Number 3 on my FCW Fave 5, Bray Wyatt. This guy finally had a vignette on a WWE episode of NXT. I am counting NXT as FCW because of the whole Full Sail University merger thing. So I am somebody that's just on NXT and not on Raw, SmackDown, or Superstars. I'm counting as FCW. So Bray Wyatt, formerly known as Husky Harris, formerly even before that known as Duke Rotunda, this guy is incredibly talented. His gimmick is amazing. He's basically what you would imagine a Bible thumper, but he's basically thumping the Bible of himself. He's saying that you need to follow him, you need to believe what he says, you need to believe in him, and only good things will come, and all this other kind of stuff. It's just really a psychotic, great gimmick. I love that, and he pulls it off. That's the best part about it, because you can give somebody a great gimmick, but unless they can pull it off, it's not going to go anywhere. Sean O'Hare, I'm looking at you. Number 2, Kassius Ohno. Now, everybody knows that my favorite FCW superstar is going to be Dean Ambrose. There's nobody that's going to be surprised by that unless you're brand new to my channel, in which case, welcome to my channel. Subscribe, like this video, favorite this video. I appreciate the attention. But regardless of that, Kassius Ohno is really freaking close to Dean Ambrose in my book. Man, this guy, Chris Hero, if you don't know who I'm talking about when I say Kassius Ohno, you've probably at least heard of Chris Hero before. Just an amazing wrestler. Everything. In-ring, psychology, charisma, out the yin-yang. That doesn't even make sense. He has an amazing look. He looks probably closer to Triple H than anybody on the WWE or FCW roster, which, I mean, that can be a gift and a curse, but at the same time, you've got to realize that when I grade somebody's appearance in my FCW Superstar Spotlight series, I grade them based on how much they look like a Triple H or a Sheamus or The Rock, or kind of like that ideal, I guess you could call it, like an archetype, I guess. But Kassius Ohno has the look, the charisma, the psychology, everything. This guy has every ingredient that you could possibly ask for to be a top star for years to come. He's only like 31 or 32 years old, I think. Just endless potential. And he's one of those guys that's kind of in that same category as CM Punk, where every time he has a microphone in his hands, everybody shuts up because they want to know what he's about to say. And I'm one of those people that shuts up because I want to know what he's about to say, because this guy is just plain awesome at everything. And now to move on, number 1 on my FCW Fave 5. I already said it, but I'll say it again for those of you that haven't been paying attention the whole time. Dean Ambrose. Can this guy please debut on WWE television now? I hope that by the time I put this video up, it's outdated, because Ambrose debuts tonight on Raw on June 25th. I would love for that to happen. I doubt it will. I would love for it to, but regardless of that, this guy is just so good. He has this amazing style of in-ring work. Reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he is a pure fighter. And I think that what I love most about this guy is his entire dedication to the Dean Ambrose, formerly Jon Moxley, character. Because this guy is a complete psycho, but you wouldn't even realize that he's playing a character because he's that good at it. He's incredibly talented. He'd probably be just as good of an actor in movies as he is a wrestler. But to top that off, he's incredible in the ring as well. Great brawler, great fighter. If you need him to, he can be a submission guy. He can be a high flyer. He can do anything in the ring. But his preferred style is that I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to throw lariats. I'm going to just beat the living crap out of you. And then to finish the match off, I'm going to put you in a submission and make you beg for mercy. I love it. The guy is a psycho, but he plays it better than anyone else. The only person in FCW who comes even close to him in the psycho category is Bray Wyatt, another guy that I've already mentioned. But I don't want to really reveal too much about Ambrose, because I do want to talk more about him and really all of these other guys in their respective FCW Superstar Spotlights in the future. And just to clarify, I'm not doing an FCW Superstar Spotlight every week or every 2 weeks or even often, because if I do them too often, I'm going to end up running out of guys to talk about. I don't want to end up talking about so many guys so often that by the end of the year I end up not having anyone to talk about, and I do one on some jobber that's not going to really make anything of himself in the company. So that's kind of an explanation on that. Moving on here, my third Fave Five, Ring of Honor. Now, I'll be the first person to admit that I lost touch with Ring of Honor while Davey Richards was the champion, just because I don't like watching Davey Richards matches because they annoy me. He no-sells everything. He forgets that he's hurt. He basically has the psychology of frickin' what you would expect Eugene to have had, but the difference is Nick Dinsmore is actually talented. Basically, I don't like Davey Richards, plain and simple. I'm going to leave it at that and move on to actually talking about guys that I do enjoy watching in Ring of Honor. Number 5 on my Ring of Honor Fave 5, Kenny King. I love the All Night Express. I'm super excited for them because they just won the ROH World Tag Team Championships from the world's greatest tag team, wrestling's greatest tag team, whatever. And they're extremely talented. But to me, Kenny King is, I guess you could say, the Michaels of this tag team, with Rhett Titus being the Jannetty. I almost feel like calling Rhett Titus the Jannetty is an insult to Rhett Titus, but regardless of that, these guys are both very talented. I am more entertained by Kenny King because he is way more athletic, way more charismatic, larger than life. He's just a really exciting. Basically, when I see Kenny King, I see what Shelton Benjamin could have been if Shelton Benjamin knew how to connect with the crowd and cut a promo. Because that's what Kenny King is. That's what Kenny King does. And it's a shame that WWE let this guy go because he auditioned for Tough Enough 10 years ago, and they didn't keep him the whole way through. I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but I know that he was in the competition and he didn't get signed to the WWE. So unfortunately, he is in ROH now. I'd love to see WWE pick him up, but until then, I will continue being entertained by him in ROH. Number 4, Adam Cole. This guy is kind of like a diamond in the rough. He pinned Davey Richards at one of the last couple pay-per-views that they had, which is pretty huge in the ROH world. He is one of those guys that kind of has that, almost like that John Cena package to him, where he has the look, he's charismatic, he has kind of like a natural charm, the ladies love him, and the difference is, I don't think anyone is going to get on Adam Cole's case about, oh, he only has 5 moves, or oh, he sucks in the ring, or whatever they say about Cena, because he is exciting in the ring. He has a great work pace. He's very high paced, and he's just plain entertaining to watch in the ring. He cuts a decent promo for Ring of Honor. He cuts a great promo, but in general, he cuts a solid promo. He's no Kassius Ohno, Chris Hero, whatever you want to call him, but he's still very good. He kind of funny because it kind of goes in rank here because numbers 3, 2, and 1 all cut better promos than Adam Cole. Number 3, of course, being the prodigy, Mike Bennett. And the reason I love this guy so much is because even Ring of Honor fans, who are supposed to be these smart, they get the business, they cheer for the heels, they boo the faces kind of guys, Mike Bennett is the ultimate heel in ROH, and people still boo him just because he's that freaking good at what he does. Mike Bennett comes into ROH, which is one of those companies where, oh, we don't have to be entertainment. We can be wrestling, but our wrestling will be entertaining. And basically trying their hardest to separate themselves from the WWE. And in comes Mike Bennett, and he's talking about how he is a sports entertainer. He is an entertainer. He is there to sell merchandise, to sell basically his gimmick, to cut promos and entertain the fans on the mic, and to punch people in the face rather than doing a Hurricane Run off the top rope. And he's kind of that ground and pound style of wrestler, but people hate him because he's kind of the opposite of what they want in ROH, and I love him for that. I love this dude. Great psychology, great talker. Honestly, one of the 2 or 3 best promos in the Ring of Honor company, and the only 2 guys that really compete with him as far as promos go, in my opinion, are my numbers 2 and 1 on my Ring of Honor Fave 5. Number 2, of course, being the Ring of Honor World Champion Kevin Steen. Kevin Steen has kind of technically sort of been a heel for a really long time, but he turned on the fans at their most recent pay-per-view. basically said that he said what they wanted and did what they wanted just because he knew that they didn't like Davey Richards and he wanted to get the title from Davey. So basically, Steen went from being a heel to he went from being a heel that got cheered to being like an actual real everyone hates you now heel. But I don't hate him because he's still freaking awesome. For somebody that's like 265 pounds, and he's not like a 7-footer, so he's not thin. He's a big guy, and he flies off the top rope. He does the freaking moonsaults. He can do a 450 splash. He can do a senton. He can do all kinds of crazy high-flying stuff. And for somebody his size, that's a big deal. That would basically be, I'm trying to think of somebody, imagine Jack Swagger. I mean, Jack Swagger isn't as hefty as Kevin Steen, but as far as like the kind of large, just overall somebody you wouldn't expect to come off the top rope, that's kind of what Kevin Steen does. He's this gigantic guy that flies around the ring. It's like a Samoa Joe almost, and I will talk about Samoa Joe later, hint hint. But yeah, Kevin Steen, great wrestler, great worker, significantly better psychology than the former world champ Davey Richards. Just plain entertaining. I love watching Ring of Honor when he's on, as well as pretty much anyone else on this list. Especially number one, that being Tommaso Ciampa, formerly known as the Dominant Male, now the Sicilian Psychopath. God, this guy's good. This guy can cut a freaking promo with the best of them. I am going to go out on a limb here and say Tommaso Ciampa is the best promo in Ring of Honor right now. And that's not counting managers, because some people might want to argue, oh, Truth Martini or freaking Prince Nut. No, that's no. Tommaso Ciampa is the best promo in Ring of Honor right now. The guy can play characters as far as being like the Sicilian Psychopath goes. He can cut a promo from the heart. If you don't believe me on that, find the promo that he cut on Bryan Danielson when Danielson finally got an opportunity to get out of the WWE to wrestle an indie match. This guy's just plain awesome, and his in-ring work is incredible. His finisher is unique and something that I don't think I've ever seen before, where he does the powerbomb lift into a double knee backbreaker, I guess you could call it, but it's just awesome. Project Ciampa, Tommaso Ciampa, this guy is entertainment embodied, in my opinion. I thoroughly enjoy pretty much everything he does. Love the promos that he's been cutting as the Sicilian Psychopath, and just I'm starting to get into Ring of Honor again because of these 5 guys and maybe 1 or 2 other guys that didn't make the cut. Fave 5, number 2. We're 2 away. Well, we're 1 away. We're at number 2. TNA, Impact Wrestling. It's funny because as much as I used to, and still do to a degree, take shots at Ring of Honor for a bunch of guys that don't know psychology, I actually struggled more to come up with a Fave 5 in TNA than I did for Ring of Honor. Number 5, my Fave 5 in TNA. Number 5, AJ Styles. If you would be asking me 7 years ago, AJ would probably be number 1 or 2, depending on how much I liked Chris Sabin at the time. But AJ Styles is an extremely talented guy that just hasn't caught any breaks. And now they put him in this stupid storyline with this pregnant broad, and it's so stupid. I had the opportunity a couple years ago to watch AJ Styles perform live, and the guy's amazing. When he gets time in the ring, he puts on shows like nobody else in the wrestling business these days, with a few obvious exceptions that are in the top 2 of my WWE Fave 5. But regardless, AJ Styles is one of those guys that kind of can do everything. He can power wrestle, he can chain wrestle, he can do submissions, he can high fly. He's one of the best high flyers in the frickin' business. The Fosbury flop is one of my favorite looking moves of all time. And he just can't seem to catch a break, really. The company just keeps holding him back. So I always say you are what you're booked. Credit to John for kind of getting me to say that, to start saying that rather. But AJ Styles hasn't been getting booked very well for a long time. Pretty much since Fortune, I guess you could say. Yeah, pretty much since Fortune. But yeah, AJ Styles, extremely talented, but doesn't get enough time, doesn't get enough serious angles that he deserves. Number 4 on my TNA Fave 5 is the TNA World Champion, the It Factor, Bobby Roode. This guy knows what he's doing. He's not even the top heel in TNA because I personally consider that to be Bully Ray, but he is so much more talented in the ring than Bully Ray, so much more entertaining in my opinion than Bully Ray, so much more, I don't even know. He's younger. He's got this thing going. I don't know. I just absolutely love Bobby Roode's title run right now, and he's been holding the title for, I think he's actually set the record now. I think he's had the title for longer than anyone else ever has since they came up with their own title and ditched the NWA. So, Bobby Roode, keep doing what you're doing. And it's because of, again, kind of the same thing with ROH. I guess I've been expanding my horizons lately because since TNA went live, I've been watching them every Thursday. And I've been watching ROH basically since the beginning of June. It's just, I'm starting to really start to enjoy wrestling more and kind of beyond just the WWE. Although WWE will still always be number one in my opinion. Number 3 in my TNA Fave 5 is Ken Anderson. You have no idea how much I wish this guy would have stuck around in the WWE, sorry. God, haven't botched like that in a long time. Oh, how I miss you, WWF. But yeah, Ken Anderson, extremely talented guy. His voice is freaking ridiculous. His self-announced entrance is pretty cool. He has very good in-ring psychology. Again, probably something that he learned when he was in the WWE. Just entertaining. That's what this guy is. That's the first word that comes to my mind when I think of Ken Anderson. He's just plain entertaining. He's fun to watch. He's fun to chant for. He's fun to get behind. It's just overall a fun experience when he's in the ring or on the mic or pretty much anything. I enjoy Ken Anderson's work pretty much all around as a wrestler. Number 2 on my TNA Fave 5, Samoa Joe. And it's one of those things where I almost didn't even think of him, but when I thought back, every time he shows up and is in a match, I go from, oh, there's Samoa Joe. Who's he going to lose to tonight? To, holy crap, this guy's ridiculous. Because he is. He's so good at working the crowd and making you care about his matches. It's almost an art in his presence. He turns it into an art form. He forces you to care. He forces you to get invested. He forces you to want to see him to succeed because he's just that good at what he does. Can't really say a lot about him because Samoa Joe is one of those guys where either you've seen him or you haven't, and if you haven't, you probably should because it's an experience to watch a Samoa Joe match. I think ROH recently uploaded a Samoa Joe versus CM Punk match from 2005. Look that up. Find one of those matches and just watch because Joe is incredibly talented. I guarantee you that if he had a six-pack, he would have been a former multiple-time WWE champion by now. He's great on the mic. He's intense. He's got the charisma, great in the ring. He's got it all, except, obviously, like I said, the six-pack, which is also kind of what's holding guys like Colt Cabana, and I'd even go as far as to say Bray Wyatt back, because if I don't even know his real name, but if Bray Wyatt, the guy playing Bray Wyatt, would have the six-pack, kind of like what the WWE looks for, he never would have gotten punted out of the WWE product and demoted down to FCW to basically get the repackage and become Bray Wyatt. So really, you could see it as a blessing in disguise, but regardless, it's one of those things that certain guys, because of the way they look, get held back despite their talent. And I think it's unfortunate. And that never happened to, well, it kind of did, but it didn't happen to the same degree with Mick Foley, but that's just because his talent was impossible to ignore. So before I start ranting here, I want to move on. Number 1 on my TNA Fave 5, I'm thinking a lot of people have probably guessed it by now, Austin Aries. Man, this guy's awesome. The greatest man that ever lived. I don't know if I'd go that far. I personally think the greatest man that ever lived was George Carlin, but Aries is definitely up there. This guy is freaking awesome. He's amazing in the ring. He's got amazing high energy. He's one of those rare guys that has great psychology and high energy in the ring at the same time. Because if you look at guys like John Morrison, Kofi Kingston, Shelton Benjamin, these are all guys that have high energy but could have a little bit of work as far as their psychology goes. And then on the other side, you have guys like John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H, and these are guys that have amazing in-ring psychology but could work on getting their energy up there a little bit. Aries has both. Aries has the psychology and the energy, and if he needs to, he can compete in one of those spot fest, I'm going to do 3 moves to you, then you're going to kick out, then you're going to do 3 moves to me, then I'm going to kick out kind of ROH-style matches. And he can make anything entertaining. He's just plain great at what he does. And finally, the number one Fave Five, the one that I personally see as the most important, my WWE Fave Five. And this doesn't just apply to Raw, it doesn't just apply to SmackDown. This is an overall look at the WWE landscape. Number 5, as of tonight, Chris Jericho. Before Jericho came back, I would have probably put Christian at number 5, but Chris Jericho, I don't care if he comes back as a face, I don't care if he comes back as a heel. Everything Chris Jericho does is amazing. And that's really all I need to say. The guy is freaking awesome at everything he does. To say that he's the best in the world at everything he does isn't as much of a stretch as they'd love for you to believe, because he is that freaking good. Number 4 on my WWE Fave 5, Dolph Ziggler. I want this guy to win the world title within the next 2 or 3 months so bad. It's ridiculous. Ziggler has put in so much work, from the Spirit Squad to, hi, my name's Dolph Ziggler. And then freaking Vicky, and finally he's gotten rid of Swagger. He just has that one last little string to cut. And he'll be a solo, single made man, and hopefully freaking rocket to the moon, because I just enjoy Ziggler's work almost too much. His selling, bar none. He's a bump machine. Defensively, as far as just like taking other people's offense and selling and bumping and all that stuff, he reminds me of Shawn Michaels. He really does. Shawn was always great at making everyone else look good. And another guy he reminds me of is Ric Flair. I've been calling him the Nature Boy Dolph Ziggler for months now. Hasn't really caught on yet, but I'm convinced it will eventually, just because he reminds me of Ric Flair to so many different levels, to so much of a degree. I remember I was reading a quote one time. I don't remember exactly who said it, but it was basically he made a career out of making everyone else look good, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to look as good as they did when they wrestled him. And I was thinking, oh, that's got to be about Ziggler. And it turned out that it was about Ric Flair. And I'm just like, holy crap, Dolph Ziggler is the next generation's Ric Flair. It went from Buddy Rogers to Ric Flair, and now I think Dolph Ziggler needs to adopt the Nature Boy gimmick and name. Number 3 on my WWE Fave 5. Damien Sandow. You're welcome. This guy, I'm so glad I did my FCW Superstar Spotlight on him. I know it wasn't my first one, but it ended up being my most popular one. It's actually almost at 2,000 views right now, and I am so happy that I had an opportunity to talk about this guy before he really started catching on, because he's so good. He's talented. He talks really well. He's a great in-ring worker, and I heard an interview with Sean Waltman the other day, and Waltman just said that Sandow came up to him, and he was probably the guy that asked him the most questions, but most of the questions weren't really questions. They were just him asking if what he thought was correct or not, and most of the time it was. So this is a guy that truly understands the business. He understands the flow of a match. He understands psychology. He just plain gets it. And I am thoroughly looking forward to this guy finally getting inserted into his first feud, hopefully with either Santino Marella or Christian, so that he can get a mid-card title as soon as possible. I just absolutely love Sandow's work, from the entrance, the ring, the theme music, the freaking attire with the pink tights like I talked about in his Superstar Spotlight episode. You know, the Russian leg sweep that he kind of rolls through and stands up right away, and the finisher that, again, he kind of rolls through and gets the pin right away. And even the way he pins his opponent is different and awesome and cool. And then even after he wins, he does the freaking cartwheel, and he's just awesome in every single way imaginable. I don't know for sure if I'll ever, not even ever, I'm sure that this guy's eventually going to make it to the top 2 of my Fave 5, but what I really want to say is he's probably the fastest rising superstar on any of these Fave 5s, because really 2 months ago I wouldn't have had him on this Fave 5. He would have been in the FCW Fave 5. And now he's number 3, And considering all of the competition he has, from everyone else on this list to Cody Rhodes to Christian to freaking Kane and everyone else, and when Mark Henry comes back, he's probably going to find his way onto this list too. But I just love everything Sandow's been doing. He's been pretty much flawless up to this point. Number 2 on my WWE Fave 5, CM Punk. And the reason I did the drum roll was because I think everyone kind of has in their minds who my top 2 are, and they're kind of debating, okay, so which one of them is going to be 1 and which one of them is going to be 2. Well, now you know CM Punk's number 2, so that kind of makes a certain person number 1 by default. CM Punk, I'm going to say this, a year ago today, he would have been number 1. 8 months ago today, 6 months ago today, he probably would have been number 1. But Punk is amazing and extremely talented, and one of those guys, one of the few guys in the wrestling business that I legitimately want to meet and have an opportunity to get to know in real life. And he's straight edge. I relate to him on so many different levels. It's one of those things where CM Punk is the wrestler that I relate to the most, but the number 1 wrestler on this list is the wrestler that entertains me the most. CM Punk is great in the ring, great on the, well, better than anyone on the mic, really. He is the originator of the frickin' pipe bomb, and he's been cutting pipe bombs since before he even came to the WWE. It's just a matter of the WWE giving him the time to do so. I really don't even know what I can say about CM Punk that I haven't already said on, say, an episode of TWitWoW, which if you've been keeping up, you already know. I'm a huge fan of Punk, but, and now it's time for the number 1 guy, I'm even more of a fan of Daniel Bryan. And I've loved Daniel Bryan's work for as long as I can remember. It was one of those things where when he first came into the WWE, I knew he was an amazing in-ring worker, but this character, this charisma, the mic work, I didn't know about all that. And I'm glad that he showed it, because this guy is freaking amazing. He's charismatic, which the WWE obviously didn't want us to know about for a long time, but now we do. He's intense. He's got this freaking relentless in-ring style. He just destroys people. I mean, my God, he gave himself a disqualification in his 2 out of 3 falls match with Sheamus just to gain the upper hand. And it was great because then he hit the label lock, Sheamus tapped, and there was this image of it was 1-1, next fall wins, Daniel Bryan standing up doing yes chants, and Sheamus is nursing his injuries, kind of barely attempting to get up off the mat. And it was just one of those things where I was like, holy crap, this guy is amazing at everything he does. Daniel Bryan is probably the most entertaining thing in the wrestling world to me right now. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because this is a guy that's been paying his dues on the independent circuit for probably just as long as guys like CM Punk and Chris Hero and Claudio, and you could even go as far as to say guys like Austin Aries and Samoa Joe. They kind of grew up together, and it's amazing. And the fact that Bryan freaking Danielson versus CM Punk is a WWE pay-per-view main event for the WWE Championship. That right there, that is mind-blowing if you've been following these guys since their independent days. It's amazing and exciting, and I just don't want those guys to stop feuding. I want their feud to last all the way through till WrestleMania, because this is one of those matches that I could watch every single week, twice a week if I can, and not get sick of it. Because they're good enough to change it up just enough every time that I would be like, oh, he did that, or oh, they're changing it up, or, I gotta say, as soon as Daniel Bryan, not as soon as, but if he decides to pull out a cattle mutilation in one of these matches, I'm gonna mark like no other. But yes, I got a little bit overexcited there talking about Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, but these guys are amazing, and they're extremely entertaining, and I'm looking forward to Raw tonight, which is actually about to come on, so I'm going to wrap this up. Again, check out TWitWoW. I want video responses to this. I want other people to tell me their Fave Fives. You don't have to do all 5 of them, just the ones that you pay attention to. If you only watch the WWE, make a video response to this telling me your WWE Fave 5. If you watch WWE and TNA, tell me your Fave 5s from those two companies. If you can keep up with me and you can make a Fave 5 for all 5 of these categories, or even if you pay more attention to certain independent promotions like CZW or PWG or Chikara, and you can make separate Fave Fives for those companies. Talk about it. I want to hear what other people enjoy in the wrestling world. I know what I like. I'm curious as to what you like. This is Eonizzle, and again, make sure that you check out TWitWoW. We'll be up tonight, probably within 2.5 hours of Raw being over. Check out TWitWoW. This is Eonizzle, and I'm signing out to go watch Raw. See you guys.